Today we're wrapping up the final stages of learning Silent Night. We're putting the final variation hands together, and then at the very end we're talking through some elements that you can work into your playing to really make this song yours and to get the most enjoyment possible out of this song. Let's get right to it. Our first priority for today is putting our hands together for the second variation. So last time we worked on putting a fairly simple, straightforward left hand pattern together with the right hand, and today we're going to be putting the other variation together with the right hand. So the right hand is of course exactly the same as what we've had all along. In this variation, the left hand is playing quarter notes throughout the entire song. So it's a nice exercise for coordinating the hands together because the left hand has very strict quarter notes the entire time, and the right hand has several dotted patterns. So this is a nice way to kind of get used to playing a variety of things in 3/4 time. How I would recommend approaching this: you've learned the left hand, you've got that down, you've learned the right hand, you've got that down, and now, since we're going to be doing this in bite-sized chunks, let's just experiment a little bit. So we're going to start nice and slow, and I would recommend for this first chunk, start by playing the left hand pattern over and over again while counting the rhythm that we have for the right hand. If you want to play along with me, I'll count us in. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. How does that help us? I want you to be doing that so that you're really consciously aware of what the right hand needs to do when compared to the left hand before you actually have to sit down and do it. That might have even felt tricky just counting that way. If you have any troubles with that, go slower, go slower, go slower. This is not a race. This is just how we approach learning new music. So then, after you've tried that a few times, playing the left hand and counting the rhythm for the right hand, now it's time to try putting it together. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. And if you felt like that went well, then let's just repeat that process for the next half of the row. So the next half is, from the perspective of the notes, maybe a little bit trickier just because there's a little bit more motion, there's a little bit more going on, you have to move around, there's different adjustments that need to be made, but rhythmically, it's actually much more straightforward. So let's go ahead and do that exercise of counting the right hand while we play the left hand. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Not bad, right? Now let's try it together. We do have a different hand position for the right hand here, so do keep that in mind as we're doing this chunk by chunk. There are some transitions that we'll have to iron out. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And if you felt like both of those chunks are going well, then try to put the whole line together. I'll walk through that once, and I'll keep counting the rhythm for the right hand just so that you have that really present. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So if you got stuck anywhere, it was probably with these dotted rhythms in the first half of the line or the transition between chunk 1 and chunk 2. Again, just make note of that. Write it down on your list of things to practice, line up rhythms or transitions between chunks, and make sure that you're coming back to that consistently every time you sit down at the piano so you can get it ironed out. The nice thing about the second line is it's actually just the same thing 2 times in a row. So here we only have 1 chunk that we actually need to learn. I would suggest starting with exactly the same steps we just took for the first row. We're going to play only half of the line and be counting the right hand. You can do that a few times in a row. You could consider it playing the whole row. Whatever helps you, just make sure that you're being very consistent with your practice methods. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. And let's try playing that hands together. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. If that felt good, keep going. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. Repeat that process several times until you've really got a feel for how the hands line up and how everything fits together. And once you've practiced that several times, we can move on to the next chunk. So again, just half of the line. And the first half of the row, we're in a new hand position compared to the second row. However, it's a nice 5-finger position. The right hand doesn't have to slide around any. It's just the left hand has to move a little bit with the 5th finger back and forth, but you know that from the last time. Then for the sake of being very consistent, let's do exactly the same thing here. So let's play the left hand, count the right hand. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So here we only have one measure that's using this dotted pattern. Do that a few times if you feel the need, and then meet me back here to practice it hands together. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then repeat that process again for the very last chunk of the song. Counting the right hand first. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold. Then let's play that hands together. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold. Here, the chunk is a little bit shorter. The notes are a little bit tricky because of the moving that the right hand has going on. We only have one dotted pattern, but just do it as many times as you need and make sure you get it ironed out. Then next step, of course, play the whole row from start to finish, and then go from the beginning and see how it works, putting everything together from start to finish. You might get stuck in some of the transitions. You might have trouble keeping the left hand really steady when the right hand is playing dotted patterns. Just go slowly, keep counting. I can't stress that enough. If you struggle with this at all, don't worry. The nice thing about Christmas music is Christmas comes back every single year, and in that year in between, you will have learned so much and you will have grown so much musically. And when you come back to this year after year, you'll start to notice, it's so easy now. It's so much easier than it was in the year before. So that's just a caveat. If you have any sort of struggle with this and you're feeling pressured leading up to Christmas, this is something that you can come back to year after year, and you will keep growing and keep adapting. Once you've managed the notes and putting the hands together and getting the coordination and lining up the rhythms and keeping it really steady, what comes next? There's often this frustrating stage when we're learning new pieces that we work so hard to play the notes and so hard to figure out the rhythms, and it's so much just to get the coordination down, and then we're sometimes still not happy with how it sounds because we can't see the forest for the trees, right? We've been down in the weeds so long, just mastering the notes, managing all of these basic level things of the music, that it can be frustrating and we can lose sight of what comes next. Why doesn't my piece sound like I want it to? I know this music, I love this music, why doesn't it sound like I'm imagining it? This happens to everyone, especially when we're learning pieces that are maybe a little bit tricky for us. If it's a simple piece, it's much easier to put all of the pieces together and then still focus on the musical ideas, because we're not overwhelmed with everything else that's going on, and it hasn't taken us so long to get to that point that we've lost sight of why we started learning a piece in the first place. It's very normal for this to happen. And let's talk about the things that we can do to make sure that we bring in the musical ideas that we're looking for. So first and foremost, I would encourage you to just stop and think about dynamics. Think about the character that you want to create with a piece, the atmosphere that you want to create with a piece, and use that as your starting off point. So Silent Night, for me, is a gentle, reflective Christmas carol. It's not one of these rambunctious ones with lots of energy. For me, it's laid back, meditative. It's basically a lullaby, right? And so lullabies don't tend to be loud, and so I would encourage you to start maybe piano, maybe mezzo piano, even mezzo forte. I don't want you to be scared by the fact that it's quiet and laid back, because playing quietly is actually much more difficult than playing loudly. But regardless of which variation you're learning of this, if you're learning the first one or the second one, or you're playing both, or you've created some of your own in addition to that, make sure that you're thinking about dynamics as you're working through this piece. So I would start fairly quietly. Feels right for you. Then the next step, something that's very common, especially among beginner pianists, but also among intermediate and even advanced pianists at times, is when we play piano, we play with two hands, and there are a lot of notes going on, and sometimes everything stays a little bit too loud. We don't always develop a hierarchy of the sound. What does that mean? It means that our melody always needs to stand out above anything else that's happening. So whether you're playing variation 1 or a variation that has a more active accompaniment pattern, want to make sure that the right hand, or if you're playing another variation where the left hand is playing the melody, whatever the case is, that the melody is always singing out above the accompaniment. Especially when the accompaniment becomes more active, it's tricky to make this happen. But I have a trick for you. If you've been around long on my channel, I've mentioned ghosting before, and ghosting is just a chef's kiss trick. It works almost like magic. It's so much more complicated than it looks. But what you do is you play the melody completely normally, and you're going to play all of the notes for the accompaniment, but we don't want the sound to come out. You're just going to play on the surface of the key. Right? And once you do that a few times, really, some of the notes in the left hand or in the accompaniment will probably come out. That's fine. Just try to slow down and make sure that not every single note is coming out, because then it really won't be a very effective trick for you. But once you've done that a few times and you've managed it a few times, do go slower. Like I said, it's much more difficult than it looks. Then play the hands regularly again. And you'll find that you have much better control, that you're able to sing out with the melody, and that the accompaniment stays more in the background. And that's a really great way to bring in that skill. Then what else can we do? We can add the pedal if you feel like it. If you feel like you've got a really good grasp on the notes and you want to add in the pedal, that's also a really nice way to add some warmth to our sound. It's not necessary, especially if you're a beginner and you're not so comfortable using the pedal, but it does create a nice effect. Or with the more active accompaniment. together a bit more. And then the final decision I want you to make when it comes to this piece is what exactly is your tempo going to be? This might seem like something that should come up sooner, and you should be playing around with this in every stage of learning, but maybe you want to take a quicker tempo but still have this really relaxed sound. And that works for the other variation as well. There's no one right tempo. That can work really well if you manage to keep a quicker tempo but still keep the right atmosphere for the song. You might also say, no, I want to play a jazzy version of Silent Night, and you do want to turn it into something more upbeat. Then tempo is a great way to do that. Or maybe you want to take it quite slowly. Maybe you're much more comfortable playing it in a slow tempo. Great. Do what works for you and just sink into the music and enjoy. Congratulations, you've worked through this beautiful Christmas carol step by step, working through learning each of the hands, putting the hands together, and then the cherry on top, the frosting on the cake, is bringing in all of those musical elements that make this such a special, beautiful song. If you do record yourself playing this song, I would love to hear your personal interpretation of Silent Night. And until next time, happy practicing.